The old house smelled like dust and forgotten memories. Kim Tae-ho stood in the doorway, looking at the rooms that had been his grandfather's home for over 40 years. 3 days had passed since the funeral, and now the house belonged to him. Tae-ho walked through the small living room, his footsteps echoing on the wooden floor. Everything was exactly as his grandfather Kim Da-song had left it. The old leather chair where he used to sit and tell strange stories. The bookshelf filled with history books about wars and ancient civilizations. The kitchen table where they had shared countless meals together. His grandfather had been the only family Tae-ho had left. His parents died in a car accident when he was 12, and Da-song had raised him from that day forward. The old man had been tough, but kind. It's always teaching Tae-ho to be strong and independent. But Da-song had also been strange in many ways. He would sometimes stare at the stars for hours, muttering words and languages that Tae-ho had never heard before. He would talk about the old ways and humanity's hidden strength. But whenever Tae-ho asked for details, his grandfather would just smile and say he would understand when he was ready. Now Tae-ho was 25 years old, working as a mechanic. In Seoul, he had taken a week off from work to clean out the house and decide what to do with it. The house was too far from the city to keep. He needed the money from selling it. He started with the bedroom, packing his grandfather's clothes into boxes. Then he moved to the living room, carefully wrapping the old books and family photos. The work was slow and sad, but it had to be done. By evening, Tae-ho had finished the main floors. Only the basement remained. He had always avoided the basement as a child because it was dark and full of old junk. His grandfather had told him it was just storage space. There's nothing important down there. Tae-ho turned on the basement light and walked down the narrow stairs. The basement was larger than he remembered, stretching under the entire house. Boxes and old furniture filled most of the space. In one corner, he saw his grandfather's old military uniform hanging in a plastic bag. Da-song had been a soldier during the Korean War, though he never talked much about those days. He had only said that the war taught him things about the world that most people would never believe. Tae-ho began sorting through the boxes. Most contained old papers, photographs, and personal items. He found letters his grandfather had written to his grandmother before she died. He found medals and certificates from his military service. He found journals written in his grandfather's careful handwriting as he worked. Tae-ho noticed something strange about the basement wall. In the far corner, behind a stack of old boxes, the wall looked different. The concrete seemed newer. If it had been repaired or rebuilt, he moved the boxes aside and examined the wall more closely. There was definitely a section that looked different from the rest. He knocked on it and heard a hollow sound. There was empty space behind this part of the wall. Tae-ho went upstairs and found a hammer and chisel in his grandfather's toolbox. He returned to the basement and began carefully chipping away at the concrete. The work was hard, but after an hour, he had made a small hole in the wall. He shined his phone's flashlight through the hole and saw a hidden space behind the wall. It was a small room, maybe 3 feet wide and 6 feet long. There was something inside. Tae-ho worked for another hour, making the hole large enough to crawl through. When he finally squeezed into the hidden room, he could not believe what he saw. In the center of the room sat a strange object on a metal table. It was about the size of a soccer ball, but it was not round. The shape was complex, with smooth curves and sharp angles that seemed to flow into each other. The surface looked like metal, but it was unlike any metal Tae-ho had ever seen. It seemed to shift and change color as he looked at it, moving from silver to blue to deep purple. But the most amazing thing about the object was that it glowed. A soft, gentle light came from inside it, pulsing slowly like a heartbeat. The light was beautiful and somehow familiar, as if he had seen it before in dreams. Tae-ho stared at the object for a long time. What was it? Why had his grandfather hidden it? How long had it been down here? On the table next to the object, he found a letter with his name written on the envelope. His hand shook as he opened it and read his grandfather's familiar handwriting. My dear Tae-ho, if you are reading this, then I am gone, and you have found what I have protected for so many years. This object came to me during the war, in circumstances I could never explain to anyone. I have guarded it and waited, knowing that one day it would be needed again. That day has come, and now it belongs to you. You are ready, even if you do not know it yet. Trust in yourself and in your blood. The old ways are returning, and humanity will need its strength. Touch the object when you are ready to learn the truth. Tejo read the letter 3 times, trying to understand what it meant. The old ways? Humanity's strength? What truth was his grandfather talking about? He looked back at the glowing object. It seemed to pulse brighter now, as if it knew he was watching it. Something deep inside him felt drawn to it, as if it was calling to him. Slowly, Tejo reached out his hand. The object felt warm, even from a distance. His fingers trembled as they moved closer to the strange surface. The moment his skin touched the object, everything changed. Light exploded through the basement, but it did not hurt his eyes. Instead, it filled him with warmth and energy. Object began to hover above the table, spinning slowly as it glowed brighter and brighter. Suddenly, images filled Tejo's mind. He saw stars and planets he had never seen before. He saw great ships flying through space. He saw battles in cities, and people who looked human but were somehow different. And then he saw Earth, but not as it was now. He saw it as it had been long ago, when it was young and wild and full of power. The visions stopped as suddenly as they had begun. The object settled back onto the table, its glow returning to the gentle pulse from before. But Tejo was no longer the same person who had touched it. He could feel something new inside him, something that had been sleeping and was now awake. His senses were sharper, his mind was clearer. His body felt stronger and more alive than ever before, and somewhere far above. In the darkness of space, ancient sensors detected a signal that had not been sent for 50 years. The signal traveled faster than light, reaching distant worlds, where creatures with red eyes and sharp teeth received the message and began to prepare for war. The awakening had begun. Tejo woke up on the basement floor 3 hours later. His head was pounding and his mouth felt dry. The strange object sat quietly on the table, glowing softly as if nothing had happened. He sat up slowly, trying to remember what he had experienced. The visions felt like dreams, but they had been so real. The images of space battles and alien worlds still filled his mind. There was something else, something different about his body. Tejo stood up and immediately noticed that his legs felt stronger. His back, which usually ached after working on cars all day, felt perfect. He looked at his hands and saw that small cuts and scars from years of mechanical work had completely disappeared. He climbed out of the hidden room and walked upstairs. In the bathroom mirror, he saw that his face looked different too. His skin was clearer, his eyes brighter, looked healthier and younger than he had in years. What had that object done to him? Tejo spent the rest of the night reading through his grandfather's journals, looking for answers. Most of the entries were about daily life, but some pages contained strange drawings and notes about ancient history. One entry caught his attention. The artifact chose me during the battle at Hill 203. I was dying, shot 3 times, and bleeding in the mud. Then I saw the light buried in the ground where the shells had been falling. When I touched it, everything changed. I became stronger, faster, smarter, but I also became responsible for something much bigger than myself. One day the signal will go out again. When it does, they will come looking for us. Tejo read the entry several times. His grandfather had found the object during the war, just like the letter had said. But what signal? Who would come looking? The next morning, Tejo drove back to Seoul. He had planned to return to work, but he could not focus on anything except the strange object and what it had done to him. He called in sick and spent the day researching everything he could find about unusual artifacts and alien contact. Most of what he found was nonsense, but some stories made him think. There were reports of people finding strange objects throughout history. There were stories of humans developing unusual abilities after contact with mysterious devices. Most people dismissed these stories as fantasy, but Tejo was beginning to believe they might be true. That evening, he visited his best friend Park Min-ho at his apartment. Min-ho was a computer programmer who had known Tejo since high school. He was smart and practical, and Tejo trusted him completely. You look different, Minho said as soon as Taeho walked in. Did you lose weight? Your face looks thinner. I feel different too, Taeho said. Minho, I need to tell you something strange. You might not believe me, but I need someone to know what happened. Taeho told his friend everything he described. Finding the hidden room, the glowing object, and the visions he had experienced. Minho listened without interrupting, his expression growing more serious with each detail. Show me, Minho said, when Taeho finished the story. Show you what you said you feel stronger and faster? Show me. Minho went to his closet and pulled out a heavy box of computer equipment. The box usually took both of them to lift, but Taeho picked it up easily with one hand. That's impossible, Minho whispered. That box weighs at least 50 kilograms. Taeho set the box down and looked at his hands. He had lifted it without even thinking about it. The strength felt natural, as if he had always been that strong. There's more, Taeho said. He walked to the window and looked out at the street below. I can see things differently now. Is that man across the street? The one in the blue jacket? He's carrying a gun under his left arm. And the woman by the bus stop? She's pregnant, maybe 3 months. Minho looked out the window. How can you possibly know that? I don't know, I just can. It's like I can see through things or sense things that normal people can't sense. Minho stared at his friend for a long time. This is crazy, Taeho. People don't just develop superpowers overnight. I know it sounds crazy, but it's real. And I think it's just the beginning. 3 days later, the news reports started. The first sighting was over Tokyo. A strange ship appeared in the sky, hovering above the city for 10 minutes before disappearing again. The government said it was a weather balloon, but the video showed something that looked nothing like any human technology. The second sighting was over New York. This time, the ship stayed for an hour, and thousands of people filmed it with their phones. The object was huge, maybe a kilometer long, and it moved in ways that defied physics. It made no sound and left no exhaust trail. Within a week, similar ships appeared over major cities around the world. London, Paris, Beijing, Moscow, Delhi. Each time, the ships would hover for a while, then vanish without explanation. Governments tried to intercept them, but military jets could not get close. The ships seemed to anticipate every move. Taeho watched the news with growing worry. His grandfather's journal had mentioned that they would come looking. Were these ships connected to the object he had found? During this time, Taeho noticed more changes in himself. His hearing became so sharp that he could hear conversations from 3 blocks away. His reflexes became so fast that he could catch a falling glass before it hit the ground. Most importantly, he began to understand things that had never made sense before. One evening, while watching a news report about the alien ships, Taeho suddenly understood what the reporter was saying in 3 different languages. He had never studied Japanese or German, but somehow he could understand every word. This is getting scary, Minho said. They were sitting in Taeho's apartment, watching the international news. What if these aliens are hostile? What if they want to invade Earth? I don't think they're here to invade, Taeho said. I think they're looking for something or someone. What makes you say that? Just a feeling, like I know them somehow? Taeho had a dream that felt more real than any dream he had ever experienced. He was standing in a vast chamber filled with beings that looked almost human but were clearly different. They had pale skin, large eyes, and wore clothing that seemed to be made of metal and light. One of the beings approached him, and it spoke. Taeho understood every word, even though the language was completely alien. You have awakened. The being said, we have been searching for your kind for many cycles. The signal has called us across the void. What signal? Taeho asked. What do you want? Long ago, your people and ours were enemies. We fought a great war that lasted for generations. Your people were strong and clever, but we were more numerous. We thought we had destroyed you completely. But we survived, Taeho said, somehow knowing it was true. Yes. Some of you escaped to a small world far from the battle zones. You hid there and grew strong in different ways. Now the awakening has begun, and we have come to finish what we started. Taeho woke up in a cold sweat. The dream had felt completely real, like a memory rather than imagination. He looked at the clock. It was 3 in the morning. He got dressed and drove to his grandfather's house. The object was still in the basement, glowing softly in the darkness. When Taeho touched it, new visions filled his mind. He saw the truth about humanity's past. Thousands of years ago, humans had lived among the stars. They had built great cities on distant worlds and traveled between solar systems. They had been part of a vast galactic civilization, but they had also been warriors. When the Valkyrie Empire began conquering other worlds, humans had fought back. The war had lasted for centuries, with both sides developing terrible weapons and fighting brutal battles. Eventually, the Valkyrie had won through sheer numbers. They had destroyed the human worlds one by one, hunting down every survivor. But a small group of humans had escaped to a primitive world called Earth. They had hidden there, slowly forgetting their true nature and living as simple farmers and hunters. The artifacts had been left behind by the last human commanders. They were designed to awaken the sleeping genetic memories when humanity was ready to reclaim their heritage. Now that awakening had begun. The signal Taeho had accidentally triggered had told the Valkyrie that their ancient enemies were alive and growing strong again. Taeho understood now why his grandfather had hidden the object for so long. Daesung had known that touching it would start a chain of events that could not be stopped. The old soldier had waited until he was sure humanity was ready for what was coming. But were they ready? Taeho thought about the billions of people on Earth who had no idea that their world was about to change forever. They were living normal lives, going to work, raising families, believing they were safe. Soon they would learn the truth. Valkyrie were coming, and this time they intended to make sure no human survived. Taeho looked at the glowing object and made a decision. He could not face this alone. He needed to find others like him, people who had been awakened by similar artifacts. Together they might have a chance to protect their world. The war was coming whether he wanted it or not. All he could do was prepare for it and hope that humanity's long exile on Earth had made them stronger than their enemies remembered. Above the atmosphere, invisible to human detection, the first Valkyrie scout ships began their approach to Earth. Their sensors had finally traced the signal to its source, and their weapons were ready. The ancient enemy had been found. This time there would be no escape. The first Valkyrie scout landed in the mountains outside Seoul at dawn. The ship was small, carrying only 3 soldiers, but they were confident. Their mission was simple: find the source of the signal and eliminate any surviving humans before the main fleet arrived. Taeho felt them coming before they landed. He was driving to work when a sharp pain shot through his head. Images flashed in his mind, a dark ship descending through the clouds, alien figures in black armor, weapons designed to kill. He pulled over and called Minho. "They're here," he said. "The aliens I told you about. They've landed." "What are you talking about?" Minho asked. "There's nothing on the news. There won't be. Not yet. They're being careful." Taeho could sense the aliens moving through the forest, searching for the signal's source. "I have to go." "Go where?" "Taeho, you can't fight aliens by yourself. I have to try." "If I don't, they'll find the artifact and destroy it. Then they'll kill everyone in the city." Taeho hung up and drove toward the mountains. He had never been in a fight in his life, but something inside him knew exactly what to do. The artifact had given him more than just physical strength. It had awakened memories that belonged to his ancestors, warriors who had fought these same enemies thousands of years ago. He parked his car at the base of the mountain and began climbing. His enhanced senses guided him toward the aliens. He could smell their strange scent on the wind and hear their heavy footsteps on the rocky ground. The first Valkyrie soldier appeared between the trees 20 minutes later. It was tall and thin, with gray skin and large black eyes. It wore armor that seemed to be made of living metal, that carried a weapon that hummed with energy. The alien saw Taeho and raised its weapon, spoke in a harsh, clicking language that somehow Taeho understood perfectly. Human detected. Genetic markers match ancient enemy profile. Termination authorized. The alien fired. A beam of red light shot toward Taeho's chest. But instead of running or falling, Taeho moved faster than he had ever moved before. He dodged the beam and closed the distance between them in seconds. The alien's eyes widened in surprise. Humans were supposed to be weak and slow. This one moved like a predator. Taeho grabbed the alien's weapon and crushed it with his bare hands. The metal crumpled like paper. Then he struck the alien in the chest. His fist went through the living armor as if it were made of glass. The alien fell backward, dark blood spreading across the ground. It looked up at Taeho with dying eyes and whispered, "Impossible. The humans are extinct. We destroyed them all." "Missed some," Taeho said. The second alien appeared from behind a large rock. This one was smarter. It had watched the fight and understood that this human was different. It spoke into a communication device before raising its weapon. "Command, this is Scout Team Alpha. We have encountered an awakened human. Repeat, the ancient enemy has returned. They are stronger than our records indicated." The alien fired repeatedly, but Taeho was already moving. He dodged each beam and grabbed a fallen tree branch. With his enhanced strength, he threw it like a spear. The branch went through the alien's armor and pinned it to a tree. The third alien was the team leader. It was larger than the others and carried more advanced weapons. When it saw its soldiers die, it activated a device on its wrist. Suddenly, it became invisible. But Taeho could still sense its presence. The artifact had given him abilities that went beyond normal human senses. He could feel the alien's heartbeat, smell its fear, hear its breathing. The invisible alien tried to circle behind him, but Taeho spun around and grabbed it by the throat. He lifted it into the air and slammed it against a boulder. Invisibility. Device shattered, and the alien became visible again. "You will tell me about your fleet," Taeho said. "How many ships? When will they arrive?" The alien leader glared at him with hatred. "You cannot stop us, human. We have learned from our mistakes. This time, we will burn your world to ash." "How many ships?" Taeho repeated. 1,000 warships. They will arrive in 7 days. Their species will be extinct before the next moon. Taeho felt a chill run down his spine. 1,000 ships. Even with his new abilities, how could he fight against so many? "There are others like me," he said. "Other humans who have awakened." The alien laughed, a sound like breaking glass. 12. We've detected 12 awakened humans on your planet. You think 12 can stand against 1,000 ships?" "We'll see," Taeho said. He struck the alien leader in the head, and it stopped moving. Then he searched their bodies and found several pieces of technology. One device looked like a communicator. Another seemed to be a scanner of some kind. It took everything that might be useful. As he walked back down the mountain, Taeho's mind raced. 7 days. He had 7 days to find the other awakened humans and prepare for a battle that determined the fate of his species. He drove straight to his grandfather's house and went to the basement. The artifact was glowing brighter than ever, as if it sensed the approaching danger. When Taeho touched it, new information flooded his mind. He saw the locations of the other artifacts scattered around the world. One was in Japan, hidden in an old temple. Another was in Germany, buried beneath a castle. A third was in Brazil, deep in the Amazon rainforest. All 12 were calling to their chosen guardians, awakening humans who had the genetic markers of their ancient warrior ancestors. But the vision showed him something else too. The artifacts were not just weapons or tools. They were connected to each other, part of a network that could link the awakened humans together. When all 12 were activated, they would form something much more powerful than the sum of their parts. Taeho called Minho. "I need your help with something important. Can you come to my grandfather's house? Are you okay? You sound different. I killed 3 aliens today, and there are 1,000 more coming in a week." There was a long silence. "I'll be right there." While he waited, Taeho studied the alien technology he had taken. The communicator was still active, receiving messages from the Velkari fleet.
Almost.
Of the communications were in their harsh alien language. But the artifact helped him understand the important parts. The main fleet was indeed coming. 1,000 warships, each carrying 1,000 soldiers. They planned to attack every major city on Earth simultaneously, giving humanity no time to organize a defense. But they were also afraid. The reports from the dead scout team had reached the fleet commander. The humans were not the weak, primitive creatures they had expected. Some had awakened to their true nature and were displaying abilities that matched their ancient ancestors. The fleet commander, a veteran named Crystal, had fought in the original war against humanity. He remembered how dangerous awakened humans could be. He was increasing the fleet's firepower and changing their attack strategy. Minho arrived an hour later. Taeho showed him the alien bodies, the stolen technology, and the glowing artifact. His friend stared at everything in shock. "This is really happening," Minho said. "Aliens are actually coming to destroy Earth." "Yes, and we're the only ones who can stop them." I'm just a computer programmer. I don't have superpowers." "You have something more important," Taeho said. "You have a mind that can solve problems. I can fight, but I need someone who can think strategically." Minho looked at the alien communicator. "Can you understand what they're saying?" "Most of it. They're coordinating their attack, sharing intelligence, preparing for battle. Then we can listen to their plans. We can know what they're going to do before they do it." Taeho smiled. Oh, this was why he needed Minho. His friend could see possibilities that others might miss. "There's something else," Taeho said. "There are 11 other people like me, scattered around the world. The artifacts are calling to them, waking them up. If we can find them and work together, we might have a chance." "How do we find them?" "I know where they are. The artifact showed me." The hall touched the glowing object, and a holographic map appeared in the air above them. 12 points of light marked the locations of the artifacts. "We need to contact them before the fleet arrives." Minho studied the map. "Some of these locations are in countries that don't have good internet. And even if we can contact them, how do we convince them to believe us?" "We show them the truth," Taeho said. "The same way my grandfather showed me." Outside, the sun was setting. In 7 days, it would rise on a world at war. But for the first time since touching the artifact, Taeho felt hope. He was not alone. Somewhere out there, 11 other humans were discovering their true nature and preparing to fight for their species' survival. The awakening had begun. And this time, humanity would not run. The next morning, news reports began appearing around the world. 3 hikers had found strange bodies in the Korean mountains. The government said they were movie props, but the photos looked too real. Social media exploded with theories about alien visitors, and government-cover-ups.tae-ho watched the reports with Minho while they worked on contacting the other awakened humans. They had managed to reach 5 of them so far, using a combination of internet searches, phone calls, and the artifact's guidance. Lee Haijin was a physicist in Seoul who had found her artifact in her grandmother's basement 3 days ago. She was still learning to control her new abilities. But she was brilliant and understood the science behind what was happening to them. Choi Seungmin was a soldier stationed near the DMZ. His artifact had activated during a training exercise, and he was now stronger and faster than any human had ever been. He also had military knowledge that would be crucial in the coming battle. Park So-young was a doctor in Busan who had discovered her artifact in an old hospital that was being demolished. She could heal injuries with her touch and seemed to understand things about human biology that science had never discovered. The other awakened humans were scattered across different continents. There was a teacher in Tokyo, a farmer in Germany, an engineer in Brazil, and several others in Africa, Australia, and North America. Each one had found their artifact in a different way, but all of them were experiencing the same changes. "We need to meet in person," Haijin said during their video call. "The artifacts are stronger when we're together. I can feel it." The aliens. "We'll attack in 6 days," Seungmin added. "We don't have time to travel around the world." "Then we bring them here," Taeho said. "Korea is centrally located. If we can get everyone to Seoul, we can figure out how to fight together." "How do we get them here without the government noticing?" Minho asked. "We don't hide from the government," So-young said. "We tell them the truth. Show them the alien bodies, the technology, the artifacts. Make them understand what's coming. It was a risky plan, but they had no choice. While the others worked on bringing the awakened humans together, Taeho and Minho went to the Korean military headquarters in Seoul. General Kim. Woo-jin was a tough old soldier who had commanded troops for 30 years. He listened to their story with a skeptical expression. But when they showed him the alien communicator and translated the enemy messages, his attitude changed completely. "You're telling me that 1,000 alien warships are coming to destroy Earth in 6 days?" he asked. "Yes, sir," Taeho said. "We're the only ones who can stop them. 12 people? Against 1,000 ships? We're not ordinary people, General. The artifacts have given us abilities that can match their technology, but we need your help to coordinate the defense." General Kim studied the alien weapon that Taeho had brought. It was clearly not human technology, and the metal was unlike anything he had ever seen. "Even if I believe you, how do we convince the rest of the world? The Americans? The Chinese? The Russians? They'll think we're crazy." "We show them the same evidence," Minho said. "The alien communications are still active and prove that the threat is real." Over the next 2 days, a secret meeting was arranged. Military leaders from around the world gathered in Seoul to hear the evidence. Many were skeptical at first, but when they saw the alien technology and heard the intercepted communications, they began to understand the danger. Meanwhile, the other awakened humans were making their way to Korea. Some came openly, using normal transportation. Others had to be more creative. The engineer from Brazil, whose name was Carlos, simply ran across the ocean floor. Using his enhanced abilities to breathe underwater and move at incredible speeds, the teacher from Tokyo, Tanaka, could apparently fly short distances by manipulating gravity around her body. She arrived in Seoul before anyone else, floating down from the clouds like something from a superhero movie. When all 12 awakened humans finally gathered in the same room, something amazing happened. The artifacts began to glow brighter, and the awakened humans could feel their powers growing stronger. But more importantly, they could sense each other's thoughts and emotions. "It's like we're becoming one person," said Maria, the awakened human from Germany. "I can feel what everyone else is feeling." "It's the network," Hyjin explained. "The artifacts are connecting our minds. This is how our ancestors fought in the ancient war. They worked together as a single consciousness. Through the shared connection, they could access each other's knowledge and abilities." Taeho could suddenly understand advanced physics through Hyjin's knowledge. Sunmin could feel the healing abilities that Sayoung possessed. Each awakened human became stronger by being part of the group. But the most important discovery came when they connected with the artifacts simultaneously. Suddenly, they could see the entire Velkari fleet approaching through space. 997 ships remained, having lost 3 to technical problems during the journey. "They'll arrive in 4 days, announced David, the awakened human from Australia. "But they're not planning to land. They're going to attack from orbit." The shared vision showed the Velkari battle plan. They would position their ships around the Earth and fire energy weapons at every major city simultaneously. The attack would destroy most of humanity within hours, leaving only small groups of survivors to hunt down afterward. "We can't let them get into position," Songmen said. "We need to attack them before they can coordinate their assault." "How do we fight ships in space?" asked Alina, the awakened human from Russia. "Even with our abilities, we can't fly to orbit." "We don't need to," Taeho said. The artifact was showing him something new, a memory from the ancient war. "Our ancestors had a way to project their consciousness across vast distances. We can fight them without leaving Earth. The technique was called mind bridging, by linking their consciousness through the artifacts. The awakened humans could extend their awareness into space. They could attack the alien ships with pure mental energy, disrupting their systems and turning their own weapons against them. But the process was dangerous. If they stayed connected too long, they might lose their individual identities completely. And if too many of them died during the battle, the network would collapse, leaving the survivors powerless. "We need backup plans," General Kim said. "What if this mental attack doesn't work?" "Then we fight them the old way," Soo-min replied. "When they land, we meet them on the ground. The military leaders had been working on conventional defenses as well. Every available weapon was being moved into position around major cities. Fighter jets were being armed with experimental weapons designed to penetrate alien armor.
Ground
Forces were being trained to fight enemies with superior technology. But everyone knew that conventional weapons would only slow the aliens down. The real battle would be fought by the 12 awakened humans and their ancient artifacts. On the third day before the attack, something unexpected happened. The alien communicator picked up a new transmission. It was not from the approaching fleet, but from somewhere else entirely. "This is Commander Veltar of the Resistance Fleet," the message said. "We have been tracking the Velkar invasion force. Not all of us agree with the Emperor's plan to destroy humanity. Some of us remember the old alliance between our species." The message revealed that there were Velkari who opposed the war. They had been secretly building their own fleet and were planning to help humanity fight back. But they were outnumbered and would need human assistance to be effective. "Can we trust them?" Minho asked. "We don't have a choice," Tejo replied. "We need every advantage we can get." The awakened humans used the artifact network to contact the resistance fleet. Through the mental connection, they could sense the alien commander's intentions. Veltar was sincere in his desire to help, but his forces were small and poorly equipped. "I can provide you with the locations of the main fleet's weak points," Veltar explained, "but you must strike quickly. Once the Emperor realizes we have betrayed him, he will change his tactics." The plan was taking shape. The awakened humans would use their mental abilities to attack the main fleet, while the resistance fleet provided support. Meanwhile, Earth's conventional forces would prepare to defend against any aliens that made it to the surface, but success would depend on perfect timing and coordination. If any part of the plan failed, humanity would face extinction. As the sun set on the third day, Tejo stood with his fellow awakened humans on the roof of the military headquarters. The artifacts were glowing brighter than ever, responding to the approaching threat. "Are you ready?" he asked the others. "As ready as we can be," Hyjin replied. "Tomorrow we find out if humanity deserves to survive." Above them, the stars looked peaceful and distant. But somewhere in that darkness, nearly 1,000 alien warships were preparing to end human civilization forever. The final battle was about to begin. The Valkyrie fleet dropped out of hyperspace at dawn, appearing as dark shapes against the morning sky. 997 warships arranged themselves in a sphere around Earth, their weapons charging with deadly energy. In the military command center in Seoul, the 12 awakened humans sat in a circle around their glowing artifacts. General Kim and his staff watched nervously as the young people prepared to fight a battle that would determine the fate of their species. "Fleet positions confirmed," Minho reported, reading from the alien communicator. There. Beginning there. Attack sequence. "Resistance ships are moving into position," added Hyjin, who was monitoring the friendly alien communications. "Commander Veltar says they're ready to support us." Tejo closed his eyes and reached out with his enhanced senses. Through the artifact network, he could feel the massive alien fleet surrounding their world. Each ship contained 1,000 soldiers, all preparing to rain destruction on the planet below. "Link the artifacts," he said to the others. "It's time to show them what humanity can do." The 12 awakened humans joined hands, forming a circle around the glowing objects. Their minds connected. The artifacts began to pulse with brilliant light. The network activated. Suddenly, their consciousness expanded beyond their physical bodies. Tejo felt his awareness stretch into space, reaching toward the alien fleet. He could sense the thoughts and emotions of the Valkyrie soldiers there, confidence and their fear. They remembered the ancient war and the terrible losses they had suffered fighting awakened humans. But they also believed that humanity was weak now, corrupted by centuries of soft living on a peaceful world. They were about to learn how wrong they were. "Target the command ship first." Sunmin's voice echoed through the mental network. "If we can disrupt their coordination, the rest of the fleet will be easier to handle." The command ship was a massive vessel at the center of the formation. Emperor Crystal himself was aboard, directing the attack. Through the network, the awakened humans could see him clearly, an ancient Valkyrie warrior covered in scars from the old war. "Begin the assault," Tejo commanded. The mental attack hit the command ship like a thunderbolt. The awakened humans projected their consciousness directly into the alien vessel, disrupting its computer systems and confusing its crew. Lights flickered, weapons misfired, several sections lost power completely. Emperor Crystal screamed in rage as his ship's systems failed around him. He recognized the attack pattern from the ancient war. "It's impossible. The humans are supposed to be extinct." "They survived, my lord," his second-in-command reported. "They have grown stronger." The Emperor's eyes burned with hatred. "Then we will destroy them the same way we destroyed their ancestors. All ships, fire at will." The alien fleet began bombarding Earth with energy weapons. But the awakened humans were ready. Through the artifact network, they could predict where each shot would land and warn the ground forces to take cover. More importantly, they could turn the aliens' own weapons against them. As the fleet fired, the awakened humans reached out with their minds and redirected the energy beams. Instead of striking Earth, the weapons hit other alien ships. "They're using our own firepower against us," Valkyrie captain reported. "We're shooting ourselves." The confusion in the alien ranks grew worse as the resistance fleet arrived. Commander Veltar's ships were smaller and less advanced than the Imperial fleet, but they knew exactly where to strike. With the awakened humans disrupting the main fleet's coordination, the resistance forces could attack with precision. "Focus on the weapon systems," Veltar ordered his crews. "Disable their guns, and they become helpless." The battle in space was chaotic and brutal. Ships exploded in brilliant flashes of light while others spun out of control, their crews unconscious from the mental attacks. The awakened humans fought with abilities that seemed to bend the laws of physics, while the resistance fleet provided covering fire and tactical support. But the effort was taking its toll on the awakened humans, maintaining the mental network. Across such vast distances required enormous energy. Several of them were beginning to weaken. "I can't hold the connection much longer," gasped Alina, the awakened human from Russia. Blood was running from her nose and her hands were shaking. "None of us can," Soyoung replied. "We need to end this quickly." They could sense that the alien fleet was in chaos. Nearly 200 ships had been destroyed or disabled, and the rest were struggling to maintain formation. But there were still too many of them, and the awakened humans were running out of strength. "We need to try something different," Tejo said, "instead of fighting the entire fleet. We focus everything on the command ship. If we can capture or destroy the Emperor, the rest might surrender." It was a desperate plan, but it was their only chance. The 12 awakened humans combined their remaining strength and launched a concentrated assault on Emperor Crystal's vessel. The mental attack hit the command ship with the force of a hurricane. The awakened humans projected not just their consciousness, but their emotions and memories as well. They showed the Emperor what humanity had become during their exile. On Earth, he saw families working together to build better lives for their children. He saw scientists and artists creating beautiful things. He saw ordinary people sacrificing themselves to help others. He saw a species that had grown beyond the brutal warriors they had once been. "See only our strength?" Tejo's voice echoed. "Through the Emperor's mind. But we have learned something more important. We have learned to care for each other." The Emperor fought back, trying to resist the mental invasion. But the awakened humans were not trying to destroy him. They were trying to heal him, to show him that war was not the only way. "Your people have been trapped in a cycle of violence for thousands of years," Haijin added. "You conquer other worlds because you have forgotten how to live in peace. It doesn't have to be that way." For a moment, the Emperor's resistance wavered. Through the mental connection, he could feel what the awakened humans felt: love, hope, the desire to protect rather than destroy. It was alien to him, but it was also strangely appealing. Then his military training reasserted itself. "You are still our enemies. You will always be our enemies." The Emperor activated a self-destruct device, planning to take the awakened humans with him as he died. But the moment he made that choice, something unexpected happened. The other Valkyrie in the fleet felt the Emperor's decision through their own mental links. Many of them had been having doubts about the war, especially after seeing how the awakened humans fought. They fought to protect their world, not to conquer others. "I will not die for his hatred," declared Captain Zexkal, commander of one of the largest warships. "All ships, stand down. The war is over." One by one, the Valkyrie ships stopped firing. Some captains ordered their crews to surrender, while others simply turned their ships around and left the system. The few who remained loyal to the Emperor found themselves outnumbered and outgunned. The command ship exploded in a brilliant flash of light, taking the Emperor with it. But instead of victory, the awakened humans felt only sadness. It tried to save him, but his hatred had been too strong. "It's over," Tejo said, his voice weak with exhaustion. "The fleet is surrendering." On the surface of Earth, people looked up at the sky and saw the alien ships powering down their weapons. The news spread quickly around the world. Humanity had survived its greatest test, but the real victory was not in the battle itself, was in what the battle had revealed about human nature. The awakened humans had fought not with hatred, but with compassion. They had tried to heal their enemies rather than simply destroy them. Commander Veltar's ship landed in Seoul a few hours after the battle ended. The alien commander met with the awakened humans and the human military leaders to discuss what would happen next. "My people are tired of war," Veltar explained. "You've been fighting for so long that we have forgotten what peace feels like. Perhaps it is time to learn." The awakened humans were exhausted, but hopeful. They had saved their world, but more. Importantly, they had shown that humanity's greatest strength was not their ability to fight, but their ability to forgive and heal. "What happens now?" General Kim asked. "Now we build something better," Tejo replied. "For all of us." The artifacts had stopped glowing, their purpose fulfilled. But the awakened humans knew that their work was just beginning. They had opened a door between species, and now they needed to help both humans and Valkyrie walk through it together in the days that followed. The surrendered alien ships began sharing their technology with Earth, but more importantly, they began sharing their stories. The awakened humans learned about the Valkyrie homeworld, their culture, their fears and hopes. It would take time to build trust between the two species. There would be setbacks and misunderstandings. For the first time in thousands of years, there was hope for lasting peace. The war was over. The real work was about to begin. 6 months after the battle, the host stood in the conference room of the newly built Galactic Peace Center in Seoul. Representatives from dozens of worlds sat around a circular table, discussing trade agreements and cultural exchanges. The room buzzed with conversations in multiple languages, both human and alien. The artifacts had been placed in the center of the room, but they no longer glowed with the same intensity. Their primary purpose had been fulfilled, but they still served as a bridge between different species and cultures. "The Zentari delegation has agreed to share their agricultural technology," announced Dr. Hijin, who now served as Earth's chief science advisor. "In exchange, we will provide them with our music and art databases." Tejo smiled as he watched the proceedings. The Zentari were a peaceful species that had been conquered by the Valkyrie centuries ago. When the Empire collapsed, after the Emperor's death, they had been among the first to seek friendship with humanity. "The Mokari traders want to establish a permanent base on our moon," added Commander Sungmin, who had become the head of Earth's Space Defense Force. "They're offering advanced medical technology in return." It was amazing how quickly things had changed. Within weeks of the battle, dozens of alien species had contacted Earth. Some had been enemies of the Valkyrie and wanted to thank humanity for ending their oppression. Others had been slaves or conquered peoples who were now free to choose their own destiny. But the most surprising development had been the transformation of the Valkyrie themselves. Without the Emperor's iron rule, their society had begun to change. Many young Valkyrie were questioning the old ways and seeking a different path. Commander Veltar had become the leader of the new Valkyrie Republic. It was a difficult position, as he had to balance the needs of his own people with the demands of the species they had oppressed for so long. "We have much to atone for," Veltar had told Tejo during one of their private meetings. "My people have caused immense suffering. Throughout the galaxy, It will take generations to heal those wounds. Healing starts with understanding, Teho had replied. And understanding starts with listening. The awakened humans had played a crucial role in the peace process. Their ability to sense emotions and intentions made them ideal mediators between different species. They could feel when someone was lying or when old hatreds were getting in the way of progress. Saw Young had established medical clinics on several worlds, using her healing abilities to help victims of the war. Her work had done more to build goodwill than any political treaty. Maria, the awakened human from Germany, had become an expert in alien psychology. She helped former enemies understand each other's motivations and fears. Carlos from Brazil had discovered that his underwater abilities worked in space as well. He could survive in the vacuum between stars, making him perfect for rescue missions in space. Exploration, each awakened human had found their own way to contribute to the growing galactic community. But they all stayed connected through the Artifact Network, sharing knowledge and experiences across vast distances. "There's something else we need to discuss," General Kim said, entering the conference room with a serious expression. "We've detected signals from the Andromeda Galaxy. It appears there are other civilizations out there, and some of them are not friendly." The room fell silent. Everyone had known this day would come eventually. The galaxy was vast, and there were bound to be other threats beyond the Velkari Empire. "What kind of signals?" Teho asked. "Invasion fleets," the general replied. "Massive ones. Much larger than anything the Velkari ever assembled." Through the Artifact Network, Teho could sense the other awakened humans around the world. They were all receiving the same information, and they were all coming to the same conclusion. "The artifacts are reacting again," Hyjin observed. "They're showing me new visions. Ancient memories of other wars, other enemies." The visions revealed that the Velkari had not been the only aggressive species in the universe. There were others, far worse, who viewed all life as a threat to be eliminated. They had been dormant for millennia, but the collapse of the Velkari Empire had awakened them. "How long do we have?" Veltar asked. "Maybe 5 years," General Kim replied, "possibly less." The representatives from various species began talking nervously among themselves. They had just found peace, and now they faced an even greater threat. But Teho felt something different. Through the Artifact Network, he could sense that this was not the end of their story. It was the beginning of something even greater. "This is what we've been preparing for," he said, his voice calm and confident. "The battle with the Velkari was just the first test. Now we face the real challenge." "What do you mean?" asked Yuki, the awakened human from Japan. "Think about what we've accomplished," Teho replied. "We turned our greatest enemies into our closest allies. We've built a galactic community based on cooperation instead of conquest. We've shown that different species can work together for the common good." He stood up and walked to the center of the room, placing his hand on one of the artifacts. The ancient humans who created these artifacts knew this day would come. They knew that humanity would need to unite the galaxy against a threat that no single species could face alone. The artifact began to glow brighter, and suddenly everyone in the room could feel what Teho was feeling. They could sense the vast network of civilizations that humanity had helped create. Hundreds of species, each contributing their unique strengths to the whole. "We're not just defending Earth anymore," Teho continued. "We're defending the right of all species to exist, to grow, to become something better than they were." The visions from the artifacts showed them what was coming. The enemy from Andromeda was not just another conquering empire. It was something far worse, a force that sought to eliminate all consciousness, all life, all possibility of growth and change. "They call themselves the Voidbringers," Hyjin said, translating the ancient memories. "They believe that existence itself is a mistake that must be corrected. Then we'll show them how wrong they are," Songmin declared. Over the following weeks, the galactic community began preparing for the coming war. But this time, they were not preparing as separate species fighting for survival. They were preparing as a unified civilization, each member contributing their unique abilities to the common defense. The Velkari provided their military expertise and advanced weapons. The Zentari offered their agricultural knowledge to feed the growing alliance. The Mokari contributed their medical technology to keep the defenders healthy. Dozens of other species added their own gifts to the collective effort, but the most important contribution came from humanity itself. The awakened humans had learned to link the consciousness of entire species, creating a network that spanned the galaxy. For the first time in history, different civilizations could truly understand each other. We're becoming something new, Taeho told Minho as they watched the construction of a massive defense station near Earth. Not just human, not just alien, but something that combines the best of all species. Do you think we can win? Minho asked. I think we can become something that doesn't need to win, Taeho replied. Something that can show even the Voidbringers a better way. The artifacts had begun glowing constantly now, responding to the approaching threat. But they were also revealing new possibilities, new ways of thinking about consciousness and existence. Through the network, the awakened humans could feel the presence of other awakened beings throughout the galaxy. The artifacts had not just been human technology, they had been created by a coalition of species from an even more ancient time.
Ouch.
Not the first to face this threat, Hyjin realized. Others have fought the Voidbringers before, and they found a way to stop them without destroying them. The ancient memories showed them the truth. The Voidbringers had once been a normal species, driven to nihilism by some terrible trauma in their past. They could be healed, but only by beings who understood both the darkness and the light within consciousness. That's why the artifacts chose us, Taeho said. Not because we're the strongest or the smartest, but because we're the ones who learn to heal instead of just fight. As the enemy fleet approached from Andromeda, the galaxy prepared for its greatest test. But this time, they were not preparing for war. They were preparing for the ultimate act of compassion, the healing of a species that had forgotten how to hope. The artifacts pulsed with warm light, and across the galaxy, awakened beings of every species joined their consciousness. In a network of understanding that spanned the stars, the final battle was coming. But it would not be fought with weapons or hatred. It would be fought with love, understanding, and the unshakable belief that every form of consciousness deserved the chance to grow and change. Humanity had found its true purpose in the universe, not as conquerors or destroyers, but as healers and teachers, showing other species that there was always another way. The new dawn was beginning, and it would shine on a galaxy united in hope rather than divided by fear. In the distance, the first Voidbringer ships appeared as dark spots against the stars. But they would not find the weak, divided galaxy they expected. They would find something unprecedented in the universe's history, a civilization that had learned to fight with compassion instead of hatred. The greatest adventure in human history was about to begin.